All right, wherever you're watching, my name is Uche Onyebadi, and this is Cross-Cultural Experiences, where we just share our experiences working into or moving into a totally different culture. And then we have such fantastic, at times very exciting experiences, which we just like to share with other people. And my guest today is an epitome of crossing cultures. I'll just leave him to introduce himself and tell you where he's been to. But let me start by welcoming you, Mohammed. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, my brother Uchi. It is good to see you again, of course, and it's good to be here. When I received an email from you a few days ago inviting me to this, I said I cannot miss this opportunity. So good to be here.
All right, thank you for that. So take it away. Brief introduction, and then we can go into that experiences you want to share.
Okay, very good. So my name is Mohamed Satti. I teach at the Ivy Business School at Western University in London, Ontario, Canada, where I am an associate professor in management communications. Originally from Sudan, born and raised, parents are from Sudan. Spent the first 11 years of my life there. And thereafter, we moved across the continent to Ghana. So I was in Ghana for a few years, did my middle and high school education there.
I'm counting. Two.
There are just a few more to come, not too many, just a few more. And then I moved to the other side of the continent, to Egypt, where I attended the American University in Cairo for my undergrad degree.
Three.
Came back to Ghana to work for a little bit, and then made the move across the ocean to Ohio. So I lived in Ohio for a number of years, did my graduate education at Ohio University, worked a little bit at Ohio, and then moved all the way
to the
Kuwait.
US.
Yes, in the US, yes, Ohio in the US, of course.
Right.
And then after that, I moved to Kuwait in the Middle East. So I was working at the American University of Kuwait for a number of years. I was teaching over there in their Department of Communication and Media. And about 2 years ago, I relocated with my family to Canada, where, as I said, I teach at Western University in London, Ontario. So
those are 6 different cultures. I was counting. I told you 6 of them.
Okay. Wow.
So maybe we'll have a problem of choosing which experience to share. But go ahead. It's up to you.
I mean, yes, these are 6 different cultures, but of course, I think we can make some kind of similarities, if you will. So Canada and the US have lots of things in common, of course, as you know very well.
Yeah.
Maybe Egypt and Kuwait and Sudan have some things in common, such as language, such as religion, such as some values and cultures and so on. So there's a lot of connections, if you will. So you go to these places and you can make these connections and map them along a timeline, if you will. But each of them, of course, each of them is a different place. Each of them has different people, different backgrounds. So experiences tend to be, similar in some instances, but of course, very different in other instances too.
All right. Which experience now? It's a problem of choice, huh?
Okay.
And I always say, thank God, let my problem be that of choice, not scarcity.
Choice, not scarcity. That's good. So maybe I can share 1 or 2 of them with you.
Go ahead.
Certain cultures. So one of the experiences I had in Ghana when I was living there was that in Ghana, if let's say a group of people is standing there and then they're having a conversation, and you approach them and you want to maybe join the conversation or so, they have a very interesting way of greeting. So handshaking is very important. But in Ghana, I don't know what it's like in Nigeria and other West African countries, but that's something I never experienced on the other side of the continent. But in Ghana, if you want to start shaking hands, you start with the right. So you go from the right to the next person, and end with the left. And of course, I the first few times I did this, I got it completely wrong. And then people had to sit down and say, no, go back to the right and start from there. And so one day I asked, well, what is the logic behind this? There must be some kind of logic or some cultural implication. And my understanding was, well, if you start from the right, then people can see sort of the palm of your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you come with an open palm, it's more welcoming. Something like so. So you show someone the palm of your hand, you come in peace. You're more welcoming and so on, and then you shake hands. Whereas the back of your hand, it doesn't speak very well. So I thought that was really interesting. So ever since, not only in Ghana but in other places as well, when I see people, I usually start with the right. So I think it has become ingrained in my subconscious somewhere, you know. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that about Ghanaians, and I've been
Right.
to Ghana, but I
Right.
know that in Nigeria we do the same.
Okay. Good.
I actually, now that you've said it,
Mm.
subconsciously you start from,
Right.
the right and then move to the left. Nobody
Absolutely.
starts greeting from left and go,
Right. And so apparently in Ghana they have an explanation for this, which
okay,
is
I
really
never knew
interesting.
about that.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is
so
really
there is
interesting.
peace. I come in peace.
I
I
come
am
in
open.
peace. Right.
I have an open mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's my understanding. I hope no Ghanaian comes to correct me, but that's my understanding of it.
How will they disagree? Will they say I don't come in peace?
Exactly. So it seems very logical when you think about it. Absolutely.
Okay, I didn't know. But again in Nigeria, when we finish the handshake, there is not just shake hands and wave, there is that sound.
Oh, that's it. That's in Ghana too. You have to snap fingers and so on, right?
Snap fingers,
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
It's like
That's a
the concluding the ritual of handshake.
I think that's very common to West Africa because I've seen it in more than one places. So Ghana, Nigeria, and
Right.
a couple of other places. So always interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, the very important thing is, getting to know what did we learn from that experience. You learn
Absolutely.
the experience of coming in peace.
Hmm.
You're not a threat to anybody when you
Sure.
start doing that. But once you start from the left going to the right, they say, okay, am I about to receive a slap or something?
And you know, I think sometimes they cut you some slack. So when they see that you know you're a newcomer to the society,
Oh, okay.
so they say, oh no, they take this as a teaching opportunity. So they say, oh,
Right.
you know, my friend, stop here. Let me show you how it's done. Not in any malicious way, but in a very
Right. I
educational
mean,
sense, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And since you're there, that's the way they do things. And
That's the way they do things, and you learn
just
how
have
to
to
do
do
it.
it.
You know, as I said, it becomes second nature to you. So much so that you know, I left Ghana many years ago, but even today, anytime I see a group of people, you know, automatically I just go to the right and then start shaking hands that way. So it's something that has become ingrained when you think about it.
All right. You said you had another brief
Yeah.
experience you might want to
The,
share.
the other one is it comes from my time in Egypt when I was an undergrad student.
Oh,
So
okay.
anytime you are sitting with somebody else, and it comes to crossing your legs, all right. So you're sitting in a meeting, in a social
Yeah.
gathering, it doesn't matter. But when you cross your legs, especially when and I know I can't demonstrate it here, but when you put your ankle up on your knee, you know,
Yeah.
and so this is very much frowned upon in Egypt and in many parts, to be honest, of the Arab world.
Arab world. Okay.
Yes, and the reason is when you put your knee, when you put your ankle on your knee, if you can envision that with me,
Right.
then the bottom of your shoe is going to be showing to whoever is
Ah,
looking at you.
okay.
And so that's considered to be in the Arab world, in most countries in the Arab world, if not all of them, it's considered to be very disrespectful. And the reason being, you know, if you show somebody the bottom of your shoe,
Yeah, the sole of your shoes. Yeah.
that is very dirty because that's the part you know you use to walk on the ground with, and it becomes very dirty and so on. So you're not supposed to put that in my face or let me see it, so to speak.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you happen to go to, I know sometimes you go to that part of the world yourself. So if you happen to go there,
Yeah.
make sure you don't cross your leg. You know, you don't do
Let,
that.
let me tell you something. I used to live in Kenya.
Right.
And there are so many Somalis in Kenya.
Mm.
And a Somali friend of mine told me exactly the same thing. In fact, in their own case, they leave the shoes by the door.
There you
So
go.
that you are not even tempted in any way to show them the
Absolutely.
sole of your shoes. And I asked her, what's wrong? My shoe is new. He said, no. You
Mm.
stepped on so many things. It's very disrespectful. You're
Absolutely.
not even hygienic to step
Absolutely.
into okay, I didn't know. Okay.
Absolutely. So that was something I saw in Egypt. I saw in Kuwait. I saw in the UAE as well during some of my travels.
Okay.
And as far as I know, it seems to be very prevalent in that part of the world. So, but you know, just adding to the point that you made, there are many places in the Arab world. If you go to someone's home, you're supposed to do what you just said. You know, leave your
Yes.
shoe by the door. And again, the idea here is that you know you don't take your shoe that you've used to walk with in many dirty places
From the
to bring it
place. Yeah.
into the home. And the home, of course, is very clean and so on. So
Yeah.
you just leave it there and then, you know, you just enter someone's home. So it's also a sign of respect when you think about it.
Yeah, I also want to think, I don't know whether this is true because I was in Kuwait And, I got into the living room. There were no chairs. Everybody sat on the floor,
Cushions on the floor and so on.
right, and all that stuff. So if you brought in your shoes, I want to imagine that you've been stepping all over the place into the house. I mean, people are going to, sit on very dirty environment.
Absolutely, and that of course is very common in some of those Arabic cultures that it goes back to you being simple and humble and so on. So you sit on the floor. If they offer you a drink, you're drinking on the floor, like some tea or water or whatever. If they bring some food, you're also eating on the floor.
Correct. Yeah, we ate, on the floor and no utensils.
Nothing.
I mean, we use the natural utensils to eat, and I enjoyed it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
eat and then you.
It's part of the culture and part of enjoying I heard in some cultures that if you don't, kind of smack your lips and lick your fingers, that means you didn't enjoy the meal. So
you didn't enjoy it.
So you have to be very vocal in those things, or very,
And so probably the person who cooked the meal will say, when you do that, they say, I did a good job.
It's a sound of appreciation. So they
correct. And if you didn't do it, it might even call you aside and say, was that anything wrong with the food?
Anything wrong with the food, for sure. So it's always interesting, to go to all these different places and to observe the cultures and the different habits and traditions. Some of them, of course, they tell you about it
in advance.
In advance. So if you go to someone's home in Kuwait or Saudi or whatever, they tell you to leave the shoe outside. They can tell you, but other things they don't tell you, and so maybe they expect you to know, or maybe as we said earlier, they can cut you some slack if you do the wrong thing.
Right. Yeah. In fact, the same time I was in Kuwait, I wore. I believe that's where we met the first time.
We did,
right?
Yeah.
So I wore I don't know what it's called, the dress. Yeah. I looked, and then I wore the one.
Oh.
Right, I wore it. And the reception I got was wonderful. People didn't even know where I was. I mean, I was just visiting, and Salam alaikum, alaikum salam. I knew that one. And people were highly welcoming because I just dressed, the way nobody knew. But now when they went into deeper Arabic, now my colleague who took me there will say, no, okay, he's not from that. They said, you're not serious. It's not from there. It looks like one of us.
That's right.
Which is actually the thing you're talking about, looking like one of them.
Absolutely.
You are respectful of the way they do things, and they also appreciate the way that you have come here
and absolutely
bringing your own things.
And I think when we are in our culture and an outsider comes in, what you're looking for is some kind of respect. The person respects and accepts the culture. And of course, they don't make fun of it and that kind of thing. And so equally, when you go to someone's culture, you want to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
When I have been to many places, so you're always very skeptical. And what I try to do or tend to do is, if I'm going to a place I haven't been to before, so I kind of read up a little bit on basic habits and so on, so that I don't make a fool out of myself, or I don't do something to upset somebody.
Yeah, without intending to do that.
Of course, without any intention, but of course, you always want to be very respectful to the culture and the way people do things and the like.
Let me just ask you, 6, and are you still counting 6 different cultures?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe 6. Right? 6 of them, absolutely.
Okay, so let's just end it there. It's been very exciting, and I'd like to invite people. If you want to be part of this, just email me, crossculturalexperiences. Remember the S at the end, at gmail.com. crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com, and then we can start talking. It's always nice. That's one of the things I like about traveling. Not just the academic component, not just the business component, but all these little things that like you go to Nigeria, the handshake ritual is different. It is from the elder to the young person.
Right.
Then I get to Kenya, my first time, a young 10-year-old just did like this. And for one moment, I didn't know what that meant, because it's Delaware. It's the elder that,
right.
Then you shake hand. And this one was, I said, well, what is this about? You young, but I quickly, knew that, okay, maybe that's the way and then I started doing it. So for them, it is respectful for the younger person, to shake hand, to pull out the hand, and then have a handshake with the older. The other one, it's also a sign of blessing that the
Right.
older person did that. Anyway,
Okay.
all right.
Interesting.
Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And good luck, and say hello to your family.
Will do. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity.
All right.